Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're learning Masechtas Nazir Daf Lamed Ches. We are going to begin on Lamed Ches Amud Aleph by the two dots, about 8 lines from the top. Rabbi Nazir says that there's Eser Reviyos saying there's actually 10 different laws which are seemingly totally unrelated, but they are connected in this way that the measurement is Reviyos. And the way to remember that is the Nukat Rav Kahana Biyadi, he had the following almost mnemonic. Chamish, which were sumkasa, 5, which had to do with something red, which is more blood or wine related. The Chamish chivarta, and 5 which are white. So what exactly is this referring to? So before we go further, if we look in the Mefarish says that there's Esther Reviyos saying, Basar Mekomos Nasimhem Toyer Shir Revius. So let's go through these. So, and the Mafar says, what is red? Yain Vedam, blood and wine. And white is Mayim V'Shemen, things which pertain to water and oil. So Chamish Sumkata, what are these 5 red? So Nazir V'Yisa Pesach, if a Nazir who made Pesach, Shahayru, and he was judged B'Mikdash, Umesu, and he died. So that's a mnemonic to remember. So what are these? So first of all, Nazir. We know Revius Yain Nazir, that in order for a Nazir to have violated his Nazirus, if he consumed the measure of a Revius of wine. Oisa Pesach, what does that mean? Diam Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel, Arba Kaisas Halal, so Shiebehen Kedei Revius. When it comes to the 4 cups in which the Chachamim Masakein, it's necessary that it should be the amount of a revius. Says the Mefarish, Kun revius lug yain chai. Dahainu beitz o mechsa kadei shim segenu v'yamod al roiv revius shaboy. Kadei revius, you can go into Dari al chad tlasa ma'ik Mefarish chasam. So Gemara brings this down in Shabbos, depends on the potency of the wine. So you have a rev revius, a quarter of very strong wine that is diluted with 3/4 water, or depending on, again, that ratio, to equal a revius fine. Shahayru, shas, so what is that? Shahayru, shasa revius yain al yaira. That if a person drinks already a cup of wine, then they should not paskin. Says Mefarish, K'dichsev, yan v'sheich ha'teish, l'samachlei, l'havdil hoidois, d'mashmel inyan hara, nami lo yeshte. Even for paskening and for listening to situations and halachic questions, you also should not have drunk before. You shouldn't have had a revius of wine. Okay. Weiter, b'mikdash. Shas revius yain v'nechtas v'mikdash chayimisa. The person enters the Beis Hamikdash having consumed this, as the pasuk says, yan v'sheich al-teisht, so chayimisa. Umesu, what is that? Tesanya. Menayin revius dam, if you have a measure of revius of blood, shiyatzim shnei mesim, even if it came from 2 different corpses, shehem atama oil, there's a tumos oil, not just on a revius dam, but even if it came from more than 1 mace, shnem revial kol nafshois mace lo yavoy. Why does it say that language? So it's the mashma, says the Mefarish, mishnei mesim, nefashos is lashon rabim. Mashma, even there's 2. Revius kari le nefesh. Okay. Fine. So, and the revius dam is called a nefesh, because kidam hu nefesh. Okay, and now we're up to the chamish chivorta. So there's 5 which are white, and this is actually a question, TA 13. Chamish revius b'chirta, eluheim, and they were nice on this test. Kasul lifchleis arba. Tell me 4 of the 5. Okay, so what is the mnemonic? Chalas Nazir Mitzayr Shnifsul b'Shabbos. They have the chal of a Nazir and Mitzayr that became invalidated on Shabbos. Okay, so what exactly happened over here? So actually, this was what we mentioned before about revius dam coming from 1 mace is actually not l'divrei koil. Okay, that's according to the Shita of Rabbi Kiva, but it's brought down at the beginning of Masechta Sanhedrin. The Ilul Rabbanan in matam revius dam shiyatzim min hameis ela miksheitzim memeis echad belvad. They actually hold that it only is matama ba'oil dafke if it came revius dam from 1 mace, but if it was a mixture of 2 different corpses, blood to equal, then according to them, no. Okay, so what's chalas? Chalas revius, a challah is a revius. Shemen l'challah. Nazir revius, shemen l'nazir. Okay, so this is coming to tell us the shiurim, the amounts for these different things. So a chalas revius is shemen l'challah, is referring to the amount of oil that's used for the challah. Okay, mitzayra revius mayim u'mitzayra. The mitzayra, as the Mefarsh says, Nazir revius shemen l'nazir is Rikiki Nazir. Mitzayra revius mayim u'mitzayra. So it says in Masechta Saita, which we'll see soon, the Shachat is a sipur achas, that they will slaughter one of the birds, el kli cheres, al mayim chayim, that you have to have in this kli cheres mayim chayim. Yarminin kama mayim yehei noisen boy kedei shehei kishishoy. So how much water has to be in there? Kedei shehei dam tzipor nicker, so that the blood of the bird is recognizable. The kam revius. So he said that's how much water needs to be in there. Mitzvah revius mayim l'mitzvah. Shenifslu did not. V'shar kol hamashkin tamein poislin es hagviya revius. And all other impure liquids, says Mefarsh, mitzdarfin l'tamim mashkin acherim can be matama other liquids k'shiyotz behen revius v'lifsel es hagviya. It'll passel the throat when you swallow it. Revius k'shishayis ice when you drink it. Kedei pras within that certain period of time. B'Shabbos is brought them to Shabbos. Then have b'shar kol mashkin revius. When it comes to carrying other liquids, what is the iser hotzah? If it's an amount of a revius, b'shar kol shayvchen revius, and also shayvchen, which has to do with when you spill and throw liquid into the Rishus Harabim. It's revius. Okay, let's look at question 5. Let's see how he writes this. Actually, let's look at question TA 13, as I said. So, revius shemen l'chala, which is referring to a chalos taida, that you have to have a revius of oil in there. Revius shemen, revius also of oil for a nazir. So, the first two have to do with the amount of oil that needs to be used either for carbon toda or for the nazir. Revius mayim l'tzipoyerim mitzayra, as we said, that you have to have a revius of water together with the mixture with the blood, which is put into a kli of a kli cheres. Revius mashkin tamein poisas gvia. Every revius of liquid which is impure can passel you when you swallow it. Revius l'hoitzel b'Shabbos, and also the revius for carrying a liquid out on Shabbos. Let's look at question 5. So question 5 says, Esther of Yoisein, B'chamish chivarta chalas nazir mitzvah shnifsel b'Shabbos. Elu hilchos hein shenifselu. Which one is shenifselu and what is b'Shabbos? So one of them is easy. Shenifselu revius mashkin tamein poisan esagavi, and b'Shabbos that shir hamashkin v'ashayvchin le'inyan hoitzah, when you carry it outside, the measurement is a revius. Okay, and Taisus actually says this clearly. Chalos revius shemen is chalos taida, as opposed to the next Taisus, nazir revius shemen lenazir sheishnei minim chalos v'rakikin. So it's referring to the rakikin. Okay. Fine. So the Gemara says, so there's 10, 5 red, 5 white. So on this, the Gemara says, what do you mean? There's more than just this list. How about Revius Noitan Liyadayim Echad V'Afil L'Shnayim? That when it comes to a Kli, when it comes to doing the Tilos Yadayim, you have to make sure that it has a minimal measurement of a Revius of water. But if it has that minimal measure of water, not only could you wash your hands, but also in addition to that, we will allow a second person as well. If you look in the Mefarsh, it's brought down the Afagav the Leis Behu Kedei Revius L'Sheni. Even though there's not a Revius for the second guy, nonetheless the Chiddush is Hoyel Verishan Havilei Kedei Shir Nitila. As long as the first person had the Shir Nitila, even though he obviously washed in a lot of the water, he may have used half of the water, nonetheless it's still good. The question is, why do we mention that? Maran says, "Beplukta loy kamayri." We don't want to mention a machlokas. What do you mean? So the Mefarsh says, actually, there's an opinion that says no. When it comes to Netilas Yadayim, it's dafka one person and not two, because again, the second person, it's not going to be a shir revius in there because he already used it. So we don't want to mention a machlokas, so we don't mention that case. Okay, avoika hayamevi pili shilcheres. This is referring to a sota that she brings a vial of earthenware. They put a half a lug of water in it, a kira from the labor. And there's another opinion that the amount that's used when it comes to, again, the concoction for the saita, that the amount that's put in is a revius. The answer, it's a machlokas. So, what's the hava mean? It's preferish, we just said was a machlokas. Okay. So, how about in Masechtas Brachos, toward the end of the third parak, that let's say a person has some urine, or like a vessel which has urine in it. So the question is, how much do you need to put in? How much regular water you need to put in to dilute it so that you'll be able to say a davar shpekdusha next to it? So one says a koshu, one says you have to put in a revius. Again, it's hard to understand this question because we know the answer. Beplugdalu kamairi doesn't mention a machlokas, which again, what we can maybe say is that each of these questions could have been asked separately in separate locations, and now we're compiling them together. But davar pashut that this is what the answer would be. Arika mikvah. How about when it comes to a mikvah? What does that mean? So in this, the Mefarsh says they were learning the second paragraph of Masechtas Mikvos. Rabbi Lezer Oimi revius mayim shayvin paisalas mikvah. He says revius of drawn water will passel the mikvah. So he says bar mahi dibatur rabbanon. What does that mean? So even though it's the truth that a revius of mayim is going of drawn water will passel a mikvah, says the Mefarsh the omru depachs megimel lugin lo pasli. The Rabbanan said that if it's less than 3 lug of drawn water, then it will not passel mikvah. Lishnachrina va'ika mikvah. The Amir mikvah hamachzik revius. If you have a mikvah which holds a revius, royal hatbil by mechatim v'sinaris, which is brought down also in Masechtas Chagiga, that you could toivel these like little kalim, like little pins and the like. So the batul rabbanon of yarmid be'inon arboim sa feel l'machtin l'sinaris. So it's brought down in Chagiga for whatever reason. Discusses the couple of reasons why over there that you actually, the din is even for these little kalim which could easily be submerged in a very small amount of water, the Rabbanan made a little plug and said that it doesn't make any difference. The din still is that you have to immerse it in a mikvah of memsa. Question 6: Kamashir hamayim betfila. How much water needs to be there? Achashi bitlu rabbanan revius betfila de mikvah. So how much actually now has to be there? So he says like this: Lekalim b'chol shehu, Adam shir kol guf oil behen v'hainu arboim sa. So it seems l'chayra that it's pretty beferish that not kol shehu by kalim, but it says even by machtan sinaris. So if we continue learning over here, it says yesh behen arboim sa bar mahi de batur banan takatani reisha sheish ba chaf al sa memeg shamim. Okay, so that's the Mefarsh. So Tosfos says like this. That was the Mefarsh. So the Tosfos says Pirish hatzrich arboim sa, that we still require 40 sa. Afil machtan snairis adam oil boy mem sa lemikva. And when it comes to a person, you definitely need 40 sa for a mikvah. So we continue to Lamed Ches Amid Beis. The Amar Rabbi the Mekom Makam Revius de Me'ayin when it comes to a spring, lo batua, they did not mavatal it. V'yachol hatu machnin b'mayin afil koshehu. This is the Taisus I didn't realize was on this page. That even a small amount you could, the whole gezer is not from by a mikvah, but when it comes to a ma'ayin, a person can use these small vessels can be immersed even the smallest amount of water. Nan, as it says, mikvah b'mem sa u'ma'ayin b'chol shehu. And this is Adam Taha Mikvah B'inan Mem Sa. We know we need 40. Im Kain Gam Hamayin Lo Matayr Adam B'chol Shehu De'B'inan Mayim Shekol Gufi Yischasa Behen. So when it comes to a person, we're big, so therefore you need Mem Sa. Therefore, it doesn't make any difference. When it comes to a person, you need Mem Sa. Whenever it comes to a Kli, so we see Beferish, this is the part of the Taisus I needed to see. The din is that it's even b'chol shehu. That's dafka by a ma'ayin when it comes to a well, like a spring. However, if it comes to a mikvah, so then in fact it's arboin, it's 40 saw. Okay. And then the Gemara continues and says like this: Ve'enu chayiv ella ad shiyoichel min hanavim kazayas. So you're only chayiv if you ate from the grapes a kazayas. Okay. So So Tanakama, which is the Mishnah Rishayna, lo medamil hein l'chol yisuri Nazir l'shtia. They do not compare the dinim of all the yisurim of a Nazir to drinking. What does that mean? So if you look in the Mafarish, he says, De'ilu anavim b'kazayas, v'yayin b'revius. It's different because when it comes to grapes, the measurement, because it's a solid, is a kazayas. However, wine, which is a liquid, it's a revius. It's not the same measure. Rabbi Kiva kivadich sebanavim leich lachem yaveshim lo yoichel machil b'kazayas av kol yisurin b'kazayas. So as he says, when it comes to like dipping the wine into the bread based on mishras, that he holds that heter is mistarful iser. We also see from here that the measure is actually a kazayas, not a revius. Okay. Question 7. Kama hashir shel shtiyas yayin benazir le'inyan malchus. So we see from here the Tanakama hold it's a revius, and when it comes to, and Rabbi Kiva holds it's a gazayas. Okay, we'll see maybe a third opinion of Rav Shimon. He's going to say kol shehu. All right. So you're chayav on each one separately. Tanurbanan. When it comes to these grapes, which are have liquid or solid, which actually was just coming to tell you that you can be chayiv for two, because you can be chayiv for anavim lachim and also anavim yaveshim. And from this we can derive this din to all other dinim. Makan shehu min echad. It's one species, it's a grape. The hen shtei shemus, but it has two different names, because even though it's the same anavim, they're still grapes, but one is yavesh, one is lach. The chayiv al zem b'fnei atzma, and then you're going to be chayiv for two. So have kol shehu min echad, the hen shnei shemus. So to any time you find something similar that it has two names, again lach and yavesh, or maybe zug v'chartzon, the pits and the skins, chayiv al zem b'fnei atzma al zem b'fnei atzma. We asuye, and that comes to include chamra charata v'invi, new wine and grapes. So these are considered to be two shemos, and therefore it's enough that you're going to be chayev twice. Says the Mafarish, shafal pi shehein min echad shayach chadash matok, that's new ka'anavim, just like grapes. Hoyev v'shnei shemos yeshlahu chayev al chalachzachas. So Amar Abaya, achol chartzon, if a person would eat the chartzon, which is the skin, the pits, like a shtayim, you're going to be chayiv two. Achol zog, if you ate the skins like a shtayim, you're also going to be chayiv two. Avol achol chartzen dezog like a shalish. So you're going to be chayav 3. So why so much? So the Mefar says, Achas mikol asher yasim migefen hayayin, v'achas al chartznayim, v'achas al zug, dul yoichel, don't eat. A kuhu koi. Those words, dul yoichel, is going on everything. It's more inclusive. So Rabbi, yeah, but we don't get malchus for that, because eno loika el achas. She'eno loika lav shebechlolos. Because when you have a lav in which is more inclusive, so you're not going to get malchus on that. And therefore, this lav of lo yoichal is a lav shebechlolos. And according to him, you don't get malchus on a lav shebechlolos. So most of Rav Papa asked the following question. You have a Nazir who's drinking wine all day. Because it's like one action, even though he's doing a lot. So Amrulo al tasht, if we say al tisht, don't drink. So you keep giving him numerous hasra, and he's drinking throughout after each hasra, he's chayv each time. Let's say a person's eating these liquidy or dry grapes, whether there's pits or skins, the peel, the sochat, eshkoil al navim b'shasa. A person squeezes the cluster of grapes and drinks like a chamesh. In this situation, it says you're actually going to get malchus 5. Now, ihachi wilki sheish, you should actually get 6. Achas al mikol asher yasa. You should also get on mikol asher yasa. But the fact that you don't say this must be because you hold a lav shebechlolos in loikin lav. So the answer is no. The truth is you do get malchus for mikol asher yasa. So why doesn't it mention it? Tan v'shayir, like it often does when we have an extensive list. It doesn't necessarily mention everything, so it's excluding that. So the Gemara always asks the same question: my shire to high shire. The only time you're going to be able to give this answer is if there's multiple things that are omitted. But if the only thing is omitted is one thing, so why would it would not mention that? It must be because that the din doesn't apply. That when it comes to this pasuk, because the lav shebechol, I can get malchus. Where it says no, there's other things too. Shire lo yachel davaro. It's also leaving out bal yachel davar, which you are also going to be chayav for. So im yishom hai lav shiruhu. No, that bal yachel doesn't count. Kikatani, what are we mentioning? Midil asya beduch tachriti, things that aren't applicable in other situations. Lo yachel davaro isil b'nedarim. The isra of lo yachel is something which applies to other things such as nedarim, and therefore it's not going to mention that, even though it's true. You are violated bal yachel, but it doesn't mention it. But again, that's not considered to be like something which is left out. So therefore, it must be a raya. The fact that it doesn't mention this either, bal yachel, it teaches because the lav shebechol is in loikanov. Amru Ravina biparzakil or Ravashi avhar shire de ben habinayim. When it comes to ben habinayim, which is the flesh of the grape between the seed and the skin, it's just taisus. It could be other things that unripened grapes. El Omer Papa Lo Tanya Midi Chamesh. It doesn't say 5, right? It says the Mefarish El like a stam. It just says you're going to get malchus. So you can't ask any questions because it's not saying 5, and therefore it must be coming to exclude 6. Therefore, it must be a raya that when it comes to lav shebechlolos, you don't get malchus. No, it doesn't say the number. So therefore, it just says you get malchus. So it could be you get malchus multiple times, even on that. And then Gemara continues, as we can do Lamed Tesmod Aleph, Ois v'chamish. But we posed the question as there was 5. Umi achad lo tanya chamish, my time oisve. And after we're saying it doesn't say 5, so then why did Rav Papa ask the question? So Rav Papa anasavri, I held lav gemarahi biyadi v'hadirbe. V'yadani the gemara. He didn't realize it was actually a valid statement. Biyadi v'hadirbe, in that he just did not retract. Rabbi Lezer and Azari Omer b'chul. Rabbi Yosef kaman mitargaminan miportsanin v'yad itzurin karav yosi. So when these words, which again mirportsionim is mashma the pnimi, the inside, the itzruin is mashma the outside, is like the shita of Rav Yossi, who again he explained it just like a bell. The clapper is on the inside, and that's the pit, and the outside of the bell is a zug, and therefore that's referring to the peel. Okay, let's stop here and let's see. Okay, again, question 7. Kama hashir shel shtias yain benazal in malchus. So he said either it's a revius or kazayas, and Rav Shimon actually says a kol shehu. Let's see, TA 13 we saw. TB 14. Hisru boy al toichel anavim. Don't eat grapes. V'achal navim. Lachim v'yaveshim kama malchus loika. How many will he get? Umishoma loika. So on this he says you get loika shalish. Alachim chada. The al yaveshim chada. Umal yachel. Or according to Rabbi loika revius mishum kol asher yasa. Adkan.